Hello. Oh, I just realized I don't have my uh my regular microphone on. I'm so sorry. I don't know where it is. I forgot. Anyway, whatever. I'm sure you can handle the different sound today. Hello, this is Emily Eldridge with Inner Work for Greater Good. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm sorry if this is your first episode you've seen of me, because normally I have a microphone right here so you can hear me a little bit better. I just hope I'm not too echoey. Anyway, so nice to have you here. And I teach you inner work that accelerates your power to make a difference. Inner work that helps you feel good so you can do good, because that is the best way, from where I come from, to do good, is to actually make a difference from a place of peace, a place of well-being. Otherwise, when we don't, we get reactive, we get triggered more easily. We often end up leading not with our wisdom, but with our wounds. There's so many people, sadly, in the world who actually, come out their activism or their difference making or their healing practices or what have you from a place where they're really not always in the best emotional place and really as healed as possible. That's not to say you have to be completely healed in order to be a healer or a coach or a therapist or an activist or something like that. But I just find I've seen it across the board too, that the best leaders and the best change makers in the world are the ones who really are as healthy as possible from within. Because what can often happen too is that if you're not, and you're actually leading from your wounds and not from your wisdom, or you've got subconscious stuff that gets in the way of really making that biggest difference, is it can end up sabotaging your efforts. I mean, we see it all the time where you have someone who's a huge success in one way in their lives, and they're the epitome, they're the envy of all their peers. And yet, you find out that their private lives are a mess. They end up making some major mistakes. And it's usually because they haven't really done the deep inner work that enables them to be the most powerful and positive presence they can possibly be. So that's what I'm all about. And I hope this is helpful to you. So today, I think I'm a little bit off center, off kilter a little bit right now. I'm sitting here still looking for my microphone. Where's my microphone? Is because I have a very different topic today. I have to be honest with you, sometimes, this is a weekly show, and sometimes I literally get within like 5 minutes before the show is supposed to go live until I finally have an idea of what to talk about. And I'm like, okay, make quick notes. This came from because of something I'm doing right now, actually. And the title of this episode is, of course, Handiwork as Inner Work. And part of my reason for sharing this is because I want us to really celebrate, recognize, and value and appreciate that inner work doesn't always have to come in the form of something like, well, I'm meditating right now, or like with my work, I'm drawing out my feelings right now, or I'm journaling right now, or I'm going for a walk in nature, although, that would actually fall under the topic today. But it doesn't always have to look like you're doing inner work, like I'm really working on myself right now. It can actually, our emotional well-being and that kind of inner work can really come in the form of and really be supported by and enhanced and facilitated by other kinds of things like handiwork, like working with your hands, doing other activities. Today I'm going to talk about handiwork, because there are certain things that I found that let me put it this way. I found that when there are certain activities that I do with my hands that really do help me calm and center and actually open up space for me to get ideas, for me to get inspiration, for me to get wisdom. And so, for example, sometimes like I might be trying to create a new program for people, or I might be trying to sort through an issue or a problem, or I might be trying to get some insight about an issue. And on the one hand, I can sit and I can really think about it, or I can journal about it, or I can talk about it with other people. But then sometimes it's really helpful to just sit and do something with my hands that on the surface or from the outside, you might look at it and go, well, it doesn't seem like she's really processing anything. It just seems like she's doing needlepoint, which is what I'm going to show you in a minute, or she's doing something else. but actually I'm processing. Things are happening in the background, and it's like by doing things with my hands, it kind of gives my body, I guess, and my mind, or at least part of my mind, something to focus on that's not on the issue, which then allows space for the higher wisdom and clarity to come through and give me thoughts and insights and, clarity that I need to figure out whatever it is that I'm trying to figure out, or get some wisdom on whatever it is I'm working through. So with that said, I'll show you something I'm working on. So one of the things that I do that's part of my handiwork is I do needlepoint. Now, my mother got me started in needlepoint. My mom is a really awesome mom because she really taught us, and I say us, mainly my mother, my sister and I, but I think also my brother, taught us things like how to sew. So in fact, all of my formal, like whenever there was a formal dinner or a dance, it was like a father-daughter dance at school, or if it was, a formal, kind of prom type dress up event, my mother would always have us make our own clothes. Now, could she have bought us clothes? Yes, but she saw this as a chance to teach us something. And so then we could feel proud having shown up at the dance, having sewn, if not all, at least most of what we were wearing. And so that way too, like we'd go to the store, we'd go to the fabric store, excuse me, and we would like I remember there was this one design that I really wanted to create, and we didn't necessarily find that exact design that was like, yes, that's exactly the dress I want. I wanted like this top, and I wanted this bottom, and so mom would show us. She'd say, okay, well, here are all the different patterns, so you can choose, let's look for what fits your design idea and we'll put it together. And so now, mind you, this was the era of taffeta and velvet. This was the 90s when I was in middle school and high school. And so of course I wanted taffeta and velvet. So I remember this one dress I had, which was taffeta and had this cool kind of ruffle in front, and then it had a skirt. But like for my senior dinner dance, she helped me, of course, but we created this like fabulous beautiful organza blouse and a taffeta skirt with this beautiful sash that would have cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars at a store. But of course, we spent a lot less than that. But also, she taught us how to make whatever it is that we wanted to create. It was absolutely brilliant. And as an adult, I still know how to sew. I sew sometimes, and it's fun. It's a little less relaxing for me because it can be so precise. But here's an activity that's really simple and easy. And when I say simple and easy, I mean, I know people who are not manually dexterous at all, and they do this and they find it easy. And so the old way of doing needlepoint. So I've already done the design here. So right now I'm just doing the fill in. This is the easiest part. It's the most mindless. But like underneath what you would see here is you'd see a pattern. So in old needlepoint, which some of you have probably done, you had to count stitches, right? I don't do the counting stitches because that would require almost too much thinking and not enough sort of meditative relaxation for me. And so what this does for me though, is I just follow the colors, and the whole thing comes with like a grid. This is actually from Elizabeth Bradley, where you can buy kits of stuff. In fact, to be honest with you, my mother buys the kits, and then she's like, oh, I bought these kits, do you want one? And so I was like, sure. So in a way, I joke that she's putting me to work to basically make her pillows for her and with her. So this is going to be a pillow that she will put together. But the point being that it creates a wonderful activity that I can pick up and put down at will. So I do this while I'm taking a break from work. I'll do this at night, sitting in bed next to my husband, and we're watching a TV show. And I just sort of want to keep my hands busy. But oftentimes, even what happens when I watch a TV show is I'm still processing stuff. I'm still thinking about work. But this is just a really nice way to calm. This is, by the way, this episode is not an advertisement for needlepoint. Don't get me wrong, but it's to say that handiwork, doing things with our hands. I'm going to show you another thing that I do too. Doing things with our hands believe it or not, can have this wonderful effect on us emotionally and mentally. I have not pulled the studies that prove this, but I'm sure there are studies out there that show that. I would argue, as I've said in past other episodes, that some of it is, I think, the left hand, right hand. Like I talked in past episodes about walking and why going for walks are a really fabulous way to help with your emotional well-being and that inner work, because the left, right helps to balance the brain. Well, I would say it's probably something kind of similar here. I'm sure there are other mechanisms at work here as well. And I'm sure some of you could probably even educate me on this. I would love that. Feel free to educate me on this. But the point is that it's using the hands somehow has this effect on the mind. And even in the past, well, I shouldn't even just say the past, this still happens today, but it used to be that, especially you'd have women, and luckily now we have more men involved in this, but you'd have women having their quilting bees, and they'd sit around and they'd quilt and they'd talk to each other. Or you have knitting, groups and bees, and you have crocheting and different kinds of handiwork. And then a lot of times it becomes this reason to get together with friends and, chat or gossip or process things, talk about things. Even book clubs, if you think about it, sometimes book clubs, I know that's not handiwork, but the point is it's about, you get together, but you end up doing so much more than just talking about the book, right? Depending on your book club, of course. I don't know what yours is like, but the ones I know about, sit around, drink wine, talk about your husbands or whatever. And the book, of course, occasionally. But the point is that, by the way, I'm not speaking about any particular book club. I'm actually not in any book clubs, and I don't think I ever have been in any book clubs. Anyway, I just know stories. But the point being that using your hands can also help to enhance your inner work and provide space for whatever inner work needs to happen, to provide space for that clarity and space for those insights. And that using the hands just can have a really positive effect on the mind. So that's something I want to encourage. If you're looking for, if you want to call it your hobby, that's fine, whatever. I don't even think of this as my hobby. To me, it's just something kind of relaxing and easy to do while, I'm sitting and watching something, or while I'm taking a break from work, Another thing that I do, though, now this is a little bit more busy, this takes a little bit more thinking, but there's still meditative aspects. Okay, I know this is kind of ridiculous what I'm doing right now, and I hope the sound isn't too overwhelming, but I also so I think I've shared that I do a practice of Buddhism called SGI, Nichiren Buddhism. And so what I do, and I'll tell you the story of how I started making these, is that I make these are called juzu. Now, juzu just means prayer beads in Japanese. And so these are juzu. Now, notice you're probably familiar with mala. These are different from mala, but you know that if you know mala, you probably know that the number of beads are symbolic of different things. And then that large bead is symbolic. So there's a symbolism to the way they're made, like a rosary. There's a symbolism. There's a certain number of beads. Well, similar thing with juzu. And so I first started making these a number of years ago when I picked up my Buddhist practice again. And I found that I really wanted juzu that were like jewelry, that I knew that would be kind of sort of an excitement for me to get me to chant more, was if I was holding something pretty. And so, but I couldn't find the ones that I wanted. And so I found out how to make them, like how many beads and what each needs. So this is called a Kozen Rufu bead, jar bead, then this is 5 beads, this is 10 beads. There's all kinds of symbolism to, the numbers. But my point is that this is another thing I do that uses my hands, that has a really calming effect on my mind, that has nothing to do with sitting and meditating or, journaling or, going to therapy or whatever, like that there are certain activities you can do that really do have can help have that inner work effect without doing some of the sort of traditional inner work activities. I take that back. I was gonna say, I sell these on Etsy. I'm not advertising them either, but I will say I sell them on Etsy, although right now my shop has been on vacation for a couple of years. But they'll be back on Etsy again. So if you want these, even if you don't practice, just for fun, you know, these are kind of fun. But again, like I don't do these so that I can like make money selling them. I do this because I enjoy it, because it helps me feel calmer. And also, not only that, I feel like I've accomplished something. Like I have a product at the end, and I tend to be very project oriented. So this is how activities like this work. So that's all by way of saying that if you are, you know, if you're really committed to inner work, or even if, I don't know, if you don't have to be, you know, any particular personality type or anything. You don't even necessarily have to be that dexterous to do handiwork. And that handiwork can really help support your emotional well-being and thus your inner work. And you'd be surprised the kind of clarity, the patience, the peace that can come over you when you find some kind of handiwork that feels good for you. Because not all of them are going to feel good. Like, so for some people, sewing might put them in that Zen mode, that zone. For me, I get a little too, you know, analytical. And so I can do it and it's okay, but it's not relaxing for me. This is relaxing for me. These are relaxing for me. Think of what's relaxing for you. That's not going to get you too like overthinking. That's not going to get you too overwhelmed. You know, that you can really just kind of just go into a zone and your mind clears and you're not working too hard, and allowing yourself to really calm and feel at peace and enjoy yourself. And then, you know, maybe you'll have something kind of cool at the end. All right. I hope this has been helpful. I know this is a little bit non-traditional, but if you want to, you know, if you already do some kind of handiwork, I would love to see it. I would love to know what you do. I'm at Emily@changelight.world. You can always contact me there. And please do join us. We are making some amazing, amazing changes soon within the Change Light community, including offering a free course and then offering more courses to be delivered to children and inmates, and trainings for coaches and therapists. Lots of good stuff coming over the next few months. So please do join us in the community. I would love to see you there. And until then, well, I'll see you next week.